Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast with me, Errol Lawson. If this is your first time here, we want to welcome you. If you're an organizational leader or manager in church-based ministry, in business, in academia, then you're definitely in the right place. In addition to hosting the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast, I also offer one-to-one and group coaching for leaders and leadership teams that want to improve their effectiveness and become more productive and increase their performance. Inspirational, entertaining, and engaging keynote talks that will help shift the mindset of your leaders and bring about the organizational culture that you really desire. For more information or to book a free, no-obligation consultation to see whether we're the right fit for each other, simply drop me an email today at errol@errollawson.com, and I'd love to have a chat with you. Thank you for listening. Enjoy today's show.
At some point in their lives, every great leader runs up against one problem that is simply impossible to ignore. How are they going to fund their vision? Today, Errol is offering you a free copy of his first book in the Rising Generation Leadership Series entitled Big Vision, No Money, 5 Keys to Funding Your Vision. In the book, you'll find guidance from some of the great leaders featured on this podcast about the way Christian leaders should think about money and approach their finances. Simply go to www.errollawson.com to download your copy today.
Hello and welcome to the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast today with me, Errol Lawson, and our very special guest today is Scott Couchenour. Scott Couchenour is a former COO and CEO of a multi-million-dollar family business. And drawing from the experience of closing the 44-year-old endeavor, he helps organizations conquer irrelevance. Now a certified coach and consultant for small businesses, he helps leaders identify early warning signs that lead to business and personal failure. In essence, he helps organizations discover what they don't know, and helps them know what they need to know. Hey Scott, before we begin, just fill in any gaps there in your bio, if you will, please, and give us a glimpse into what you're up to in the world right now.
You covered it pretty well. I'm CEO. I don't claim to know enough about finances to be a CFO. But the other thing is, Errol, my last name, incidentally, the best way to pronounce it is like drinking a Coke every hour. It's Couchenour.
Okay, thank you. Couchenour.
Right.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, and I've been married for over 30 years. I have 2 grown children, both of whom are going to be married this year.
Awesome, congratulations.
So, thank you. And yeah, we closed our business. My dad started back in 1965, 1970, and I was the CEO at the time, and we closed our doors in June of last year, 2015. So it's been quite a journey for the past 8 months.
And so what are you doing right now?
What I'm doing right now is I help leaders conquer burnout.
Okay.
And in the process of doing that, I do help organizations conquer burnout or irrelevance based on what I learned through this experience of the past few years.
Okay. And how did you get into that, Scott? How did you transition from where you were in business into working with leaders now? Is it just any kind of leader? What kind of leaders are you working with?
Well, primarily I work with ministry leaders, and I actually got into coaching back in 2003 when at that time I was an operations officer, and I was asked to look into life coaching at that time. It was relatively new for the employees because we wanted to help our employees. And in that process of investigation, I fell in love with the concept of coaching, and I saw how powerfully effective it was. And so I never really felt released from my full-time job, so I kept that going and have ever since, up until this last year when I went full-time into it.
Okay. And so was there like a significant turning point on your journey? So maybe you were heading in one direction, and a revelation happened, an epiphany of some sort, and you stopped and said, you know what, that's the way I'm going to go. Was there a turning point for you like that in your journey?
There are a couple that jump into my head. One, I'll take you back to November 2007. And prior to that, 2003, I started, like I said, started looking into coaching. And so after I fell in love with that, I started a business. I called it Progress Max. And I was going to maximize people's progress. So I got a couple of books on how to build a consulting business. And both of those books said you need to define your target market and the niche that you're going to address for that target market. So I went for about a year or so and really struggled trying to figure out who was it that I was supposed to help with this coaching certification that I received, and to the point where when November 2007 came along, I said to the Lord, all right, I'm having trouble pushing this business. I can't figure it out. So I'm going to put these books under the bed and I'm just going to coach for the love of coaching. You direct me. And in that same month, he said, I want you to change your name from Progress Max to Serving Strong. Wow. Your target market is ministry leaders, and the area you're going to focus on is burnout. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I have a Tuesday morning newsletter that goes out. It's a short read, and that grew to about 400 over 10 different countries. And it's now at 650 or so. And what I learned from that, I mean, that was a turning point in my life, because I realized the power of surrendering what I thought I needed to do.
That's great.
And it's when I'm out of the way, God really does have room to move, and it's amazing.
So how did you do that practically, Scott? Like, someone listening right now is in a similar situation. They're thinking to themselves, should I go left, should I go right, should I do it this way or that way? What exactly did you do?
Slow down. That's the main thing. There's no hurry. God's never in a hurry. And my pastor once said, has it ever occurred to you that nothing has ever occurred to God? And he knows everything that he's doing. So it was I ceased all of the pressure I was putting on my mind in trying to determine what was highly a business function. And that was seeking out what market and what niche for that market. I stopped and I went into a season of listening prayer. And boy, what a transformation it was.
Wow. And listening prayer. Just say a bit about that, if you will.
Sure. It's quite simple, although it's deceptively simple. It is, think of it like laying back on the bank of a river and not forcing your thoughts, but simply being there to listen to God in silence. No praying, no, dear God, help me this, help me that. But as a thought comes down the river, just let that thought keep going and not get distracted. Just listen. And many, many mornings I would close myself off in the half bath that we have and shut the door, turn the lights out, and just kneel on the floor for 15 minutes and not say a word. And many times God never said anything. Many times it was just, well, okay, there's the 15 minutes. Let's get up and go to our day. But in the process of consistently doing that, I was able to realize that the more frequently I quieted myself before God, he was able to speak to me. It wasn't anything he had to change. I had to become receptive.
It's great. Waiting on him.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. And what's been the biggest challenge in your leadership journey so far?
That challenge was 6 to 8 months ago. Actually, the last couple of years, because our business, we learned a lot. I learned a lot. We designed and built churches. We were doing a good thing. We were into the second generation of our family business. We were 44 years old. Errol, I realized no one wakes up in the morning and they don't think, how am I going to ruin my life or ruin my business or close my business down today? Everyone has the best of intentions. What happened to us was, like in the bio that you read, we didn't know what we didn't know. And the credit crash of 2008, of course that affected us. And the banks changed the way they lent money, and so we had some delays. What we didn't know was that changed the way the market went after people like us. We were a national, in the United States, we were a national church builder. And that served us well for many, many years. But after 2008, churches began to look at local contractors, and the appeal of a national contractor was no longer there. And we didn't realize that until it was too late. So the last 2 years of leading a low morale team, maintaining communication, trying to keep everybody focused on what needs to be focused on, that was the most difficult. I will also say it was the last couple of years have been the greatest moments in my life as a result.
Wow. What were the lessons you learned from the experience?
Well, I learned, I shouldn't say I learned, I am learning that trust in God is a powerful thing to live your life according to the trust in God. I learned, instead of trying to manufacture and make things happen, to allow him to unfold things. And not just let him do it, but do what I feel is best to be doing, and then let him guide me, because you can't steer a car unless it's moving.
Right. Awesome. So, at this stage now, so the business was doing well at one point. You've had to make a detour, a course correction.
Yes.
At this stage in the journey, how do you now define success?
Success is doing what you were designed to do. I for many years I thought it was a position, a title, what I do. It was kind of cool to be a CEO. To be a CEO of a company, that was just really kind of cool. But through this experience, success is not being a CEO. Success is recognizing what you are really good at and being able to operate within that 80% of your waking hours. Because we're all going to do 20% or some percentage of our life of things that we don't like to do. I mean, it's just a part of our fallen world. But success to me is working in my wheelhouse, at the same time being willing to pivot on the direction of the Spirit.
That's great. That's great, man. So how do you I think it's John Maxwell that said that your success can be found in your daily routine or hidden in your daily routine. What does the first 90 minutes of your day typically look like?
It is definitely coffee. My wife and I, we kind of just share with one another for the day. It's usually accompanied by silence. We get our energy from a quiet atmosphere. And so it's kind of laying out the day in front of him. And then I'll tell you, right after that, after I get ready and get started, I have a daily list. I mean, you talk about a key habit. If I don't have a reoccurring list of things that I do daily, and sometimes every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on, I get lost. I could go in 50 different directions at once. That list keeps me focused. And I learned that if I can go into every day with 3 things to get done in the day, then I've got enough time to get those 3. And if I get all the 3 done, I can borrow from tomorrow's 3. And so instead of having 15, 20 things to get done, in the day, and then having only done 10 of them and have 5 more added, I go home. I used to go home overwhelmed and further behind than I started the day. So it's a matter of expectations, and setting up margin. But that's the 90 days or 90 minutes of my workday is quiet, coffee, reflection, and then looking at the list.
Are you seriously fired up about growing as a leader in business or church-based ministry? Are you feeling somewhat frustrated about not having realized your full potential in what you've been called to do? Could you do with someone to help you get some extra clarity or to be a sounding board for your plans and ideas? Great athletes have coaches, so do great leaders. The right leadership coach for you will result in an increased sense of clarity, direction, and purpose, dramatically increasing the results you achieve. If you're ready to step up, contact Errol to book a free, no-obligation introductory coaching session and see whether Errol is the right coach for you. Errol takes the lessons learned from his own leadership journey and from his extensive research to help leaders and entrepreneurs to step into their biggest challenges and rise to their next level. Email admin@errollawson.com right now to schedule your call.
Have there been any other key habits that have contributed towards your success?
Do what you don't like to do first.
Right.
They've someone once coined it as eating the frog first.
Yeah.
Get it done. The day flows very nicely there.
Awesome. And what's your biggest weakness as a leader?
My biggest weakness, it's hard to pick from a number of them, but the biggest one, I think, is my ability to say no to good ideas, and many of those good ideas come from me within. I've learned that just because I have an idea, it's not something to jump jump off the cliff and do it, but to put it into kind of this waiting room. It's a good idea. Let's put it someplace and revisit it. And if it keeps recurring, it's something worth pursuing. But I find so many times I just act on an idea.
And what's the biggest strength?
I'm highly organized.
Okay.
I love spreadsheets. I love leverage, getting something done in one click that normally takes 10. Yeah.
Awesome. And when you started going into your leadership journey, and whether you class that as your entrepreneurial journey or your journey of leading leaders and pastors, what was holding you back from going into leadership, if anything at all? What was holding you back?
It was this sense that who am I to speak into other people's lives and share what I know. I had a real challenge with this idea that maybe I had something to say, and that held me back from really speaking out. And I mean, if your listeners are hearing this and they've got a great story to share, they've got a great idea to pitch, it's so important to let that out and make it work.
How did you overcome that? Because that imposter syndrome seems like such a big. So many leaders have said that to me. The imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Who am I? How did you overcome that? How did you break through past that?
Well, it was a matter for me. The outlet was blogging,
right.
And in my blogging, I was careful to ask myself, am I being truthful? Am I being authentic? And I found that through the course of typing onto my keyboard, not just hey, I'm perfect. Here's what I learned. I think you should learn it. I shared things like, this is what I struggle with. Does anybody else struggle with it? And I found that authenticity, just be yourself, be real. If you take that jump, you will realize that you are drawing people to you when you're authentic. And it actually blogging became an outlet for me. It was a very therapeutic thing that was helping in both directions.
Awesome. And it's so key, isn't it? Just finding that platform or that channel for us to express, to share our story.
Yes. Yeah, find that platform. And many times it is just writing, you know. I don't do it as often as I want to, but one of the things I want to do in that first 90 minutes of every day is just write. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about organized thoughts. Just write. You know, give yourself a time. Like, you know, the Pomodoro effect is like doing something for like 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. Write for 25 minutes every morning.
So key. And who have been your most significant mentors along your leadership journey?
There was a gentleman. I've had the privilege of being led by a lot of mentors.
Can you give me three of your top mentors?
3. One of them his name is Barry Banther from Banther Consulting. He was a management consultant for us in our business, and he's been very helpful. Most recently, there's a lady by the name of Charlene Aldridge from Aldridge Kerr Associates, and she has helped me because she's transitioned from the corporate world to working on her own, and so she has been very gracious to listen to my challenges and share from her experience. And I would have to say my brother-in-law, Sam Barber. He's a pastor and very, very solid, very wise. He's younger than me. I married his sister, but yeah, he's been a very. I have leaned on him many times.
Can I just dig a bit deeper into those relationships and ask you, what's been the best single piece of advice that each of those 3 have given to you? You start with the first person.
Barry helps me think bottom line.
Right.
That's he gets right to the point, and so I've learned how to get straight to the point. Charlene has helped me to think smart. You know, think in terms of billable hours instead of just, you know, going out there and doing 1,000 things and coming home exhausted with nothing to show for it. She's helped me to think smart. You know, she's helped me to see that there's only so many waking hours that I have, and I've got to leverage my time so where I can make the most effect, the most impact. And Sam has helped me. The greatest thing Sam has taught me is the importance of compassion. And the fact that you don't manage people, you manage things and processes, but you develop a relationship with people.
Right. I hear that. And what's the one thing you're most fired up about right now?
If I Google the word stress, you do that anytime, you'll get 500 million hits in half a second.
Wow.
On the first page, you will likely find everything you need to live a stress-free life. And yet, you and I both know there are a ton of people struggling with stress and tension. So the problem is not for lack of information, it's lack of implementation. We have so much information coming at us that we don't know how to take what we need and make it a sustainable change in our lives. And that fires me up. I'm trying to develop something called a 1-7 dream. What's the one thing you will do over the next 7 days that's going to get you closer to your dream?
Brilliant. So, is there like a book that you'd recommend to a leader right now, or a resource who maybe they're listening and they want to find out more about yourself, about the 1-7 Dream, where can they find out about that? Or any of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, the book that I would recommend that anybody read is called Your Life in Rhythm by Bruce B. Miller. Your Life in Rhythm it's a reframing of the phrase life balance. And it basically renders life balance irrelevant and says, look, don't try to balance your life because it's impossible. What you need to do is adjust your life to the rhythms of life stages and seasons of life. And that's a huge component to serving strong in leadership. The 1-7 Dream, that relates to a membership that I developed that is, it's relatively inexpensive for the person who wants to take, say, a book or a course of study, or they were going to a conference and they want to milk as much out of it as they possibly can. This membership is designed to allow that leader to plug into so that they can receive an email from me every Monday morning, and they can assess the past 7 days, they can assess where they feel their life is right now, and then they can set a course for that 1 or 2 things they're going to do over the next 7 days. And so it's based on the fact that we really change through repetition, relationship, and reframing. And that's what I try to do with my members is help them. I just keep them on task with whatever it is they're trying to do.
So please give us the details again about how we can subscribe to that.
If they go to servingstrong.com/join, JOIN, that'll give them the details.
So servingstrong.com/join, and you can find out more about that. And your website again, please? Is it just servingstrong.com?
That's correct. servingstrong.com.
Awesome. Scott, listen, thank you so much for your time today, man.
Oh, thank you, Errol. It's
key nuggets there for us to think about. Guys, if you're listening and you want to find out more about how you can benefit from Scott's wisdom, certainly around burnout, managing burnout, time management, check out the book also. I've just ordered my copy of the book you mentioned, about Your Life in Rhythm. I've just clicked it straight away. It's on Amazon there. Guys, check out Scott's website, servingstrong.com, for more information. Scott, thank you again for your time today, sir. God bless you.
It's an honor. Thank you.
All right, we'll speak soon. Thank you again.
Goodbye.
Bye for now. Thank you again for joining us today on the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast. I pray you've been inspired, you've been lifted, you've been encouraged to take your personal leadership to the next level. We really encourage you guys to just take action, make it happen, do something, start somewhere, go out and change the world in some way, big or small. Guys, if you've enjoyed the podcast today, please share with your friends, share with your loved ones, your colleagues, someone out there you think might benefit from hearing this great content. And if you want some more questions answering, you got a question, email me, Errol@errollawson.com. Or if you want a free 30 to 45 minute coaching session with myself around a leadership challenge or issue you're working on in your business, your church, or in your organization, please feel free to email me right away. We'll get you booked in. It's Errol@errollawson.com. Thank you again for listening. Go to our iTunes page, check it out, check out the previous episodes, give us a nice review, that would be awesome. Really appreciate if you could do that for us. We really appreciate you just for being here and listening. Thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Rising Generation.